With another dominating display from Mercedes, it's time to take a look back on what happened during the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. Let's get into it. So, yeah, it's another Mercedes dominated weekend, with them both having 1 and 2 win both the sprint and the race as well. Yeah, and like there's no catching them. Like the sprint, like it was pretty close at the beginning, but they got uh, quite a lead at the end, although it was a bit close. And yeah, basically like um, during the race, they basically dominate again. Although that 25 second, most of it can be attributed to like Ferrari just squabbling with each other, especially at the back end of the race. But yeah, overall it's a pretty dominant display and also a breakout moment for Kimi Antonelli, who got his first win and becomes one of the youngest winners in F1 history. Yeah, and then you also other than that, you also got Red Bull and McLaren having problems as well, especially throughout during this weekend. And like Max didn't even finish the race, but that's not even the worst part. McLaren did not even start the race, and it's a double DNS for them. And this just shows how big their problems are than they imagined during preseason. And yeah, this is gonna be a very struggling year for both of the teams. And yeah, they have a long way to go to catch up both Ferrari and Mercedes. And yeah, and then we're gonna talk about the midfield. Of course, chaos happened in the midfield, especially after the restart. And yeah, basically you got Ollie Behrman leading the field, finishing in P5, which is very impressive. And yeah, he continues that performance from Australia, and yeah, this just shows that he's the more prioritized driver in Haas, and he's ready for a breakout season this year. And of course, like Alpine also gone into the table, and yeah, like both drivers finishing in the points. Franco Colapinto finally scoring his first points in and as an Alpine driver, and also Pierre Gasly finishing in a very solid P6. This looks like they're a very promising season for them. And yeah, this shows that if there's no high speed corners in in the tracks, they can do very well. And yeah, they just need to only address that problem and continue with their formula. And yeah, Audi also had a very solid weekend, although it it was very underwhelming. But yeah, overall the midfield was packed. Also, Liam Lawson was very competitive as well, and also Carlos Sainz scores his first points of the season, meaning that Williams isn't that far off behind, but they still have a way to go to catch up with the best of the rest kind of teams. And of course, like we get to yeah, Cadillac. Yeah, very solid race. Nothing too much to take note of. At least they both drivers finished the race, and yeah, that's what they're expecting. And yeah, also for Aston Martin, they basically the problems have are there, and yeah, this is gonna be a very struggling system for them, and hopefully they address the problems on from in the next race. Okay, okay, stop. You stop. And yeah, of course, breaking news. The both the Saudi Arabian and Bahrain Grand Prix has been cancelled. So yeah, like they're not really cancelled, but they're sort of postponed until the latter date of the season. Probably like around Qatar and Abu Dhabi, where they're gonna have the Middle Eastern leg again. And yeah, this is pretty big. Of course, like we kind of expected them to like replace them with some of the more established tracks. But yeah, apparently F1 decided to just they postpone and let what happened during the Middle East um, cool down, and then afterwards they're gonna have the events over there. And yeah, overall, so the podium is of course that number three is Lewis Hamilton. He had a very solid week, and yeah, like Ferrari got what they expected. They of course were we had a very amazing start at the start of the race, but of course the pace of Mercedes eventually overwhelmed them, and yeah, they decided to squabble with each other, which I was thinking that I feel like they could have worked together to at least take the fight to Mercedes instead of themselves. But at least it's a very solid result for them, and I am not complaining. Second place is George Russell. Of course, he almost didn't start in like the front row because of like an energy issue during qualifying. But yeah, the mechanics managed to get him, and he started in the front row and stayed on in second place. Although he had a horrible start at the start, and but yeah, the pace finally carried through, and he showed why he is world championship material. But the main man himself and my driver of the day is Kimi Antonelli, and yeah, this guy has been showing a lot of promise, especially from the back end of last season. And yeah, this is basically carrying on from his namesake, of course, Kimi Raikkonen. Even there's a funny moment where the announcer during the podium celebration said his name is Kimi Raikkonen instead of Kimi Antonelli. So it was pretty funny, but it says a lot about this guy's potential. And yeah, like this kid is still young, and he just got his first win in F1. He looks like he's gonna be like the Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen kind of talent in the future. And if he keeps going on like this, he might be a contender for the title this year. Although I would say he was just gonna be like an outsider. But anyway, any progress is good progress for him, and Toto Wolff should be happy that he made the right decision to replace Lewis. Not really replace, because Lewis Hamilton already left before he made the decision. So it's basically to replace Lewis Hamilton with an up and coming and promising talent. So that is it, guys. If you have any suggestions and comments, feel free to put them in the comments. And yeah, like and subscribe, and see you next time.